Hi, I am Giandra Brigitha, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Dutch bilingual education. We're going to try and figure out at the end of this talk if it is a success or not. There has been a lot of debate on whether or not this is actually a success. The Dutch government strongly believes that freedom in education has its advantages, but there are other parties which contradict the opinion of the government. Before we dive into the pros and the cons of bilingual education in the Netherlands, there are certain aspects of the Dutch educational system that you must understand in order to understand the concept we are going to talk about today. First of all, you should know that the Dutch educational system consists of 3 educational levels or streams. The first one is the primary elementary education, which is destined for students entering kindergarten and then primary schools or basisschools as they call it in the Netherlands. The second level, which is the secondary education, which we will be focusing on today, is split into 3 different streams. Students are placed into these streams depending on their academic abilities. The first stream is VMBO. This is where students get vocational and theoretical training to ensure an entrance on MBO level. This VMBO consists of 4 years destined for students between the ages of 12 and 16. The second stream is HAVO. This consists of 5 years destined for students as well between the ages of 12 and 16, and when they finish with a HAVO diploma, they are ensured entry into a HBO level university study. The last and the highest stream in the secondary education is VWO. VWO consists of 6 years or 6 grades, and when students finish the VWO, they are able to enter a Dutch university. Now, then we have the tertiary education, which are all university-based education. Aside from these 3 educational levels and streams, there is also the new phenomenon known as tweetalig onderwijs, bilingual education. This is where curricula is taught wholly or partly in English, and in certain areas in the Netherlands, it's a choice between English and German or English and Dutch. Now, think about this question. What would your ideal school look like? That is the exact question that started the phenomenon of international schools in the Netherlands. The International School Consultancy listed that the Netherlands has 125 different international schools as of January 2015. There is an increase in the international schools. Now, the Freedom of Education Act was signed in 1917. This makes it possible for organizations to found schools, determine principles, and also organize their own teachings. Religious freedom, ideology, and educational philosophies are not an issue under this act. This act leads to both publicly and privately run schools, thus catering to the needs of different academic levels of various students. To start off with the first pro, half of the curricula in bilingual schools are taught in Dutch and half of them in English. In this way, there is a focus on both languages. They do not prefer one over the other. Now, the Dutch government says that by exposing students to these languages or this new language, they are able to step into the changing world more easily. Other parties argue that the usage of the English language diminishes or decreases the English proficiency of its students, meaning a student's Dutch speaking, reading, writing, and listening skills will be decreased as a con. Then there was a research done which showed that a lot of students have an interest in the concept of bilingual schools, either because they have had experience with bilingual education at the primary level, or simply because the usage of the English language has benefits for their future professions. And this interest of the students is sharpened by the usage of CLIL, which is the Content and Language Integrated Learning System. With this system, bilingual education's success is ensured. Now, others argue against this point that a teacher's skills must be changed in order for her to teach at a bilingual school, meaning that proper training with the CLIL method or system takes several years. And some parties argue that it is very important for teachers to be properly trained before allowing them to teach or train other students with another language which may not be their own native language. Aside from this, there was a research done at the University of Groningen in 2010 that showed that the proficiency or the English proficiency of bilingual VWO students is rather higher than that of students at a regular VWO level. This is because they say that the English taught at the bilingual school is much more authentic than that at a regular VWO school or level. Now, the other side argues that this is actually expected of VWO students regardless of if they are at a bilingual VWO level or a normal VWO level, because they have the capacity to perform on that level. Now, their argument basically is there is so much focus on the VWO students, but what about the students at VMBO level? Because when this whole concept started, it was not intended for students coming from a VMBO school, because apparently they do not have the same academic skills as a student at a VWO level. So there is still research being done as we speak at the University of Utrecht to try and figure out what the success of bilingual VMBO students are. Now, all of these arguments are important to the success of the bilingual schools. Both sides, both the pros and the cons, must be properly analyzed with quite a few data to ensure the progress and the success of not only the school but also the students, because there is an increasingly large interest in the concept of bilingual education in the Netherlands. Bilingualism actually stimulates our brain to analyze situations or problems rather efficiently. So it has benefits for our main organ. And it should also be considered that our world is changing. And as it is doing so, we must also adapt to its changes in order for us to become much more competent. That was my informative speech. I hope I gave you a lot of information, and thank you for your attention.